What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Rashid.
Party to our body in the house.
Party to our body. All right, so we are live.
We're back at it again, Daniel.
I believe Facebook. You guys are seeing us real time right now. Shout out to Facebook.
Shout out to technology.
Technology. Speaking of technology, I want to dive right into this.
All right.
I want to dive into this frozen pond, penetrate the ice, go deep down below. Nah, not really. Anyway, last episode we talked about Elon Musk's new company, Neuralink, right? It's not new, but it's kind of new. But he went public with it this week, announcing it and what it's about. Now, for the record, and we mentioned this in the last episode, the purpose of it, the initial purpose of it is to help. What it is an interface, some wires that goes into the brain that gives your brain an interface to connect to AI. Initially, what that's for is to help blind people see again or have some vision, help deaf people hear, help people with paralysis move again, and then the next wave, of course, is going to be for people without these ailments to, connect to the internet, to artificial intelligence, access to information. So basically, essentially having your phone connected to your brain. The comments were overwhelmingly negative about this. People were so against it.
We were very surprised.
Very surprised. I'm gonna tell you why. The irony of it. They're so against. They think it's evil. It's the mark of the beast. Yada yada yada. Whatever. However, they're using a smartphone in Google, and YouTube to talk about how they hate technology. Listen, people. If you hate it that much, if you're so against the advancement of technology, because that's where it's going. Don't use a cell phone. Don't use the internet. Don't use air conditioning at your home. Don't use a car. Live off the land. Be 100% natural. Commit or don't. You know what I mean? Live amongst the animals and the wild, the fowls of the sky and the firmament and the creatures, you know what I'm saying, in the forest.
Plant your own crops.
Plant your crops. Grow your food.
Set traps.
I respect that. If that's what you want to do, I think it's dope. But understand that if you're ever sick, or you have a loved one that's sick, or a family member that's sick, or your girlfriend's having a baby, or whatever the situation may be, the hospitals have the most technology out of anything you can imagine. Okay, so opt out of all of that, right? Because they were so vehement about the concept of that next. All it is this. Your cell phone is essentially an extension of your brain. Is that fair to say?
Not a naturally occurring one, but it can be, yeah. For a tool for your brain.
I would beg to differ about natural because what's natural, right?
Like what you were born with, in this case, like to define it.
But even with that, with information, we're not born with information. We acquire it over time.
Right.
Essentially, that's all that is a hard drive.
Yep.
With information that we can, I don't know anybody's phone numbers. They used to be up here.
Don't need to.
But now it's in that part of the brain, the phone. So basically what I'm saying is this. The phones used to be just rotary. People used to talk with a can, with a string. Then we went to dispatching, the operator. Then they went to the rotary phone, then the dial tone, pressing the buttons. Then the cellular phones, the bricks. Flip phones to what we have now.
It's not even buttons anymore.
It's not even buttons.
There's not even a button.
It's using your eye to unlock it or your fingerprints or swiping a pattern.
Yeah.
It's high tech, right? And they're getting faster and faster. People complain with slow Wi-Fi time, okay? The fastest you can get is interfacing that to your brain and accessing it like that. Think about it, people, and knock it the fuck off already. Jeez. Where's this mark of the beast shit coming from? Like, what are you talking about?
That came out of nowhere.
People got real religious on me, bro.
They did.
Real fucking religious.
Nonstop. Yeah, the comments were overwhelming.
Let me go read some of these fucking comments.
While you're doing that, like the essence of progress is always going to be based on taking what's already been done and moving it a little bit further. And so this essentially lets us do that faster. So what is this phone other than a collection of the human capacity as it currently is? It's our ability to access everything that humanity has already thought of and recorded and put out into the world. So why would we not want to have that accessible at all times? Because progress is going to involve getting rid of things that are not efficient. And having to even access the phone to get this data is not efficient. And so it's going to win out no matter what. It's going to, the same way as this device, the iPhone, what is it essentially? It combined three different things into one, which is why it blew up so crazy. It combined a camera, a computer, and a CD player, right? Mm-hmm. It put that all into one, and that's why it blew up, because you don't need to have all these different things. So now we don't even need this. Imagine if not only, we haven't really discussed this, but imagine if you could conduct calls in your head.
Right.
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa. Now you don't, just the efficiency is crazy.
Right.
And if we don't have to focus on the time consumption of even getting the phone, that's going to open up brain waves for further progress.
Exactly. And what it is this. I don't know what this demonic thing that people are screaming, right? This is nothing but a mere utility, just like this computer, your phone. Even I don't even like when people are demonizing social media. It's so bad. People are plugged in. It's how you use it. Nothing is good or bad. It's your intent when using it. There's a lot of things technology-wise that are created that can be used as weapons, or it can be used for good. Maybe the people got to check themselves. It's your intentions. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to do weird shit with it? You going to get on porn faster? That's on you. The rest of the world shouldn't suffer and not advance technologically because you got some fucking creepy ass thoughts and ideas that what you're going to do with this shit. You don't trust yourself with it? Like, what's the problem, right?
Yeah, this is the elimination of a redundancy, like of looking things up, because everything that this would enable is already in existence. Like we said, the internet as it sits right now is just the accumulation of the human experience right now. So we're not creating a new experience. We're just making it more efficient to access, in theory, if this comes to fruition and it was like successful to put into the consumer population. So you're not going to have people basically the achievement level is not going to change, because people who don't have the desire to achieve still won't probably do anything further. They'll have more information, but the differentiators between individuals are still going to shine through, because information as it sits right now is pretty much irrelevant. Like, you don't need to know what day George Washington was born. You can find that out. You don't need to know anything really in terms of a singular fact.
Right.
So whoever's smartest is not going to be determined by this chip. The chip is just going to let the best excel even further.
Exactly. Just like the argument that some make, some people are like, well, if Instagram didn't exist, all of these fit people or whomever is popular would be nothing. I beg to differ. You know, people that rise to the top is going to rise to the top, whatever the mediums are. It doesn't matter. That just happened to be where it was at that point. Look, people got to be interested in you for some reason, right? So these people, it may be goofy to you, but there's a million other people that like this person. All right, so look, one of the comments this guy says, you'll plug right into the matrix if you put this chip into your head. Definitely a no for me. What's annoying to me is people just grabbing buzzwords like the matrix. What is the matrix? Okay, I looked it up just now. I literally don't know what the definition of matrix is. It's a movie, it's a cool word. I never associate anything bad with it, but it says an environment or material in which something develops, a surrounding medium or structure. It's nothing good or bad. It's nothing even in the direction of good or bad. So why is that so bad to this guy, right? I see so much stuff about the mark of the beast. Let's talk about it. Instead of just saying these blanket general statements about these negative buzzwords, talk about it. Let's talk about it. State your case. You know what I mean? It's just weird to me. And I feel like they're coming at me like it's my company.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing to do with it. I was just talking about something I think is wildly fascinating. Whether I'm with it or not, I'm with it. It doesn't matter. It's fascinating. Whether you think it's a cool thing to do or not, it's still fascinating. I think most will agree. One guy, he had to state he had to state what he does for credibility. He says, "I'm a technology director." I'm like, give me more information on that. Anyway, and computer science major, and I agree, but depending on tech, too much dumbs us down. I beg to differ. Now, they do say that as we are evolving, our brains are getting smaller and our eyes are getting bigger. But that's a natural adaptation. The reason our brains are getting smaller is because we don't have to remember certain things anymore. Listen, and you can't say that's making us dumber, right? Because dumb or intelligence and our standards, that would be like saying a chimpanzee is smarter than us because they have a vastly superior memory. The reason they have an amazing memory is because they can't write things down or communicate. They got to store everything. A chimpanzee's memory is wildly better than ours. You know what I mean? So
I've seen things with the number, like the amount of numbers in sequence that they can remember. It's insane.
We can't even come close to what they can remember in these short periods of time. Flashing numbers, it's crazy. But anyway, this guy says it dumbs us down. It doesn't. Talking on autocorrect, audiobooks, etc., makes us unfamiliar with words. Let's stop right there. Audiobooks. Why? Why is that bad? So it goes back to the notion of, well, you got to take a book and read it. Really? So that's an older medium of information, right? I'm not against reading at all, right? I like to do both. However, I like to do both because I feel like it stimulates my mind in different ways. But to say that that's the way, okay, what was before that? Do we go back to translating Sanskrit or hieroglyphics on papyrus papers? Like, when does it stop? You know what I mean? People are romantic to certain things that they're used to. They're uncomfortable with change. But listen, it is what it is. Just like in business and marketing, shit changes all the fucking time. If you don't want to change, look at the magazine companies. Look at Blockbuster. Blockbuster didn't want to change and adapt the Netflix model, right? Where are they now? No, people like coming into the store. People like being inconvenienced and coming into the stores. And
that's a great parallel with having to go on your phone when you want to look something up.
Exactly.
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to go to Blockbuster to rent a new film when you could just make a few clicks on your TV?
It's perfect.
From your couch. Why would you want to do that?
I love it.
Yeah. Apparently everyone loves it.
Everyone loves it, but according to this, everyone hates it.
Yeah.
They'll take one piece of tech, and that's a major piece, what's coming, Neuralink, and they'll act like that's the worst thing in the world. But everything else they're all on board with. If that's the Matrix, you're in the Matrix. If you're watching us right now, you're in the Matrix. You're in the mark of the beast by your standards. And what the fuck is the mark of the beast anyway? Do you know? What are they talking about? I
think they're talking about when the end of days is coming, like referring to like the rapture and the end of times, end of days.
The end of days are always coming.
Right. But
like every day, you're closer to the end.
Yeah, and they're referring to this biblically, but they're talking about when the end is going to come for us all on this earth. As there was a series of books. You remember the Rapture? I think it was called. But there was a series of books that was all about it. But I think they're talking about that without having all the information. But it's not the thing. Not the thing.
Here's what I like to do to challenge people. I want y'all to expand your minds. Now, I have read the Bible front to back multiple times. I've also read the Holy Quran front to back. Here's what I would like for y'all to do, because this is what I got out of it. When I was younger, the first time I read the Bible, I was like, I had a hard time grappling with some of these things. I'm like, what does this mean, right? The older I got, I was like, okay, these are more like parables. You know what I mean? Just stories and allegories to tell a moral, have a moral to the story, and you learn something from, right? And if you do a little bit of research, people in that time period, they spoke in very philosophical and poetical ways. It wasn't all literal, right? So look at it. When you're reading these things, these mark of the beast, this, and a third, maybe not take it super literal, like the beast, you know what I mean? And the mark of the beast and the 666 and all that shit. And look at it in a deeper way. What does this mean to you? You know what I mean? It's no, because the end of days theory and all of that shit has always been here. And it will always be here until the end of time. But literally, we're always are in the end of days because we're all a day closer to death. Because that is one thing that is promised. You know what I mean? So just don't be goofy, people.
Rather than being afraid and thinking about the potential negatives, I would challenge people to think about all the positives in terms of like taking another step towards uniting humanity, imagine the ramifications of being able to interact with anyone in the world instantly because you were able to access their language instantly and be able to understand them. What would happen to science?
Bro, check it out. That's coming, and that's amazing. Because here's the thing: I have friends. I've had friends that don't speak English, and I don't speak their language. Well, how would you communicate? Google Translate. The internet, social media specifically, collapses geography. It gives us access to people all over the world. People that you would never think about 100, 200 years ago. Someone that lives in New York would never even, like, going to California is like a pipe dream, and vice versa. That's nothing now, you know? People are becoming smarter. They're becoming more. I believe when you travel, it broadens your perspective and your worldview, and I think that's very valuable. That's happening, you know, especially with kids. You know what I mean? So, technology, I love it. I embrace it. I think it's amazing. All of it. I'm down with it. It's not. Technology is never bad. In so many ways. What's kind of annoying is people just jumping on, that's bad, that's this and that. And I even used to kind of be one of those people. I'm gonna tell you when I kind of shifted. Living in Miami, you know, my apartment was on the water. It was a beautiful view, right? 42nd floor, I could see the whole fucking Atlantic Ocean. I would just stand out there and stare like, this is fucking amazing. But you know, I'm a thinker. So I'm like, this is amazing, but this is also fucking terrifying because the right storm hit, the right elements come for the right storm, it's a wrap. I'd be one of the first people wiped out. And I would look back towards the city and I'd be like, this is fucking cancer. We're like cancer to the earth. But then I'd be like, wait a minute, are we? I would be like, all this unnatural shit, smoke, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, actually, this is kind of dope. It's not unnatural, it's of the earth. These are all elements here, right? That we're playing the alchemist, putting things together to create things to give us comfort, safety, and security. Like my building was, every building in Miami built after 2001 or 2 had to be hurricane proof. So my building would actually protect me from that fucking hurricane and that storm.
You weren't even worried.
Right, I wasn't worried. You know, I had AC. I like AC. I like to travel and drive and get places pretty fast. These are all things that, quote unquote, destroy the planet. And I get us hastening things. So as we grow wiser as a people, we do find things like a Tesla. You know, we find ways to try to mitigate some of the damage and slow it down because we're smart enough. You know, there's been technology built. Okay, now we can figure out a way to do it in a cleaner way. And I'm with that. I'm not psychotic about it, but I'm with it 100%. That's why we went with Planta. We went out of plastic tubs, that's our biggest seller, to eco-friendly bags. But anyway, this is something that I was like, I used to back in the day be like, you know, nature and natural shit. But I started really embracing the shit, the beautiful things that come from our minds, like this guy right here, a computer, you know? So when I look back at the city, I didn't see it as disgusting anymore. I seen it as, yo, this is dope. And if you think about it, that's fucking amazing that we're just fucking monkeys that can create these things to give such comfort and give life. It can give life meaning versus just surviving. Because our friends in the wild, all they do is survive. As far as we know, they're not necessarily enjoying life. They're trying to stay alive. They're looking for food. You know, even if you watch, like I love lions, one of the animals that I love. Lions have hard lives, even though they're the kings of the jungle. You know, it's hard to find food, to catch prey out there. You know what I'm saying? So we can just order Uber Eats. Bang.
There's nothing in our way of survival, so we
Nothing.
have the freedom to come up with what's next.
And just enjoy, do things to make us enjoy life. This is what people got to understand and realize. What makes us humans is like the novelty, is the shit that kind of don't matter to our survival, like music, the arts, movies, you know, that shit don't matter.
No.
But it's so important to us, right? As it should be. Fuck it. We have, like you said, we have the bandwidth to create these things because we're not out hunting.
That's the only way it could happen. And then actually music, culture, like these, vastly different cultures, at least to us as humans, that we have from continent to continent, even like region to region within a country. That's one of the things I'm most excited about was the mention from the chip that it could help share memories or, viewpoints. Imagine the ability, how this would collapse geography and break down world barriers between humans right now. Imagine how it would change our outlook on a different culture to be able to see it through the eyes of a person of that culture, because it's obviously special to them. They obviously see value to it, and there was value to it, or else it wouldn't have been built over so many hundreds, or in some cases, thousands of years. Mm-hmm. So to be able to experience it, not from your lens as the person who is where you're from with your experiences, but through their lens, see what it means to them. I feel like the amount of love that would create in the world would change the world.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the dopest things. They talked about sharing memories of a city, but what about sharing memories of your country, of your community, your culture?
Right.
That would be unbelievable.
Right, because for some strange reason, people, they feel like they're better than other people because they're born in certain places. And let me tell you something, nobody earned where they were born at. That's by chance. Your parents happen to fuck in Texas.
Or at least let you come out in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. And
exactly.
So imagine if we had this understanding of each other, because I don't think there's too many people, at least like not as a group. Like you could say, people are generally, like, let's say, afraid of things they don't know because it scares them. They're not familiar.
That's an intelligent characteristic in survival mode.
In survival, yeah. But now where we are, we have to break that down. And this is such a cool way that it might happen, that it could just literally change everything, because there's not a group of people where I've interacted. Like, let's say, for example, that you've been entirely sheltered. You've never interacted with, as me, I never interacted with one black person. Then the only experience I ever had with a black person turned out to be negative. That might give me some kind of an idea that all black people were like that. But there's not a group of people on this earth that I've met multiple of that I like, Chinese, black, Indian, Filipino, wherever you can think of, Italian, German, that I don't know multiple people, and I don't like them. Like, the more you know about people, you can start to appreciate aspects of their culture, what's good about it, what's cool about it, even what mistakes their culture made in some cases, right? But the culture as it is, it shouldn't be a reason why you don't like people, and that is a thing right now. I'm Iranian. When I was in school, in middle school, that's when 9/11 happened. And although Iran had nothing to do with it, being a Middle Eastern culture, it was just lumped in. And I was like low-key a little bit embarrassed or afraid of what people were going to think of me. And I hate that I had to endure that. You know what I mean? I couldn't share with people like how cool I thought my family was or what our customs and traditions were, because I didn't think that they'd want to hear it. But what if, they could really see it for what it is? And we could know that about everyone. I think that will literally change the planet.
Bro, that's a powerful piece of time that you're talking about and what you experience. Like, I feel for you for that period of time, because I know how it is to feel like, you're not welcomed in a certain place. You know what I mean? So that's got to be tough. Like what you dealt with.
You see it on the news where like people were getting beat up. I'm like 2001. I was like 12, something like that, 13. You see on the news that people are getting beat up that weren't even Muslim. Like let's first of all, Muslim people aren't bad, but they weren't even Muslim. They just looked like Muslim. Like they had a darker, more brown skin tone, dark hair, features that looked Middle Eastern. They were getting beat up because people were trying to display their American pride.
I remember that.
And it's so misguided anyway.
There was even like Sikhs getting lumped into that.
literally had nothing to do with it.
But
And-
even a Muslim has nothing to do with it.
Right, exactly. So they were that far off. They were multiple steps off.
Right.
If they were trying to direct their anger in that towards that group, they were still doing it wrong.
Right.
So they were going after people just by how they looked. And I had to ask my parents, like, what do I do? And my parents were like, look, if you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to say anything at all. Or like, a lot of our family happens to live in Italy. They're like, if you're afraid, you could say that. But it's like, I'm looking back on it, and it's like now, as an adult, so many years have passed, it is what it is. I'm super proud of who I am and where I come from and my parents and everything that's gone into shaping me. And I can't believe that for any amount of time, I was having to feel that way.
Did you ever deny that you were Middle Eastern and say you was Italian?
No, but this did happen to me where people were like, well, where are you from? I'm like, well, my parents are from Iran. And they're like, what's that? And they start asking me questions. And I would then direct the conversation to where a lot of my family lived in Italy. And I'm super embarrassed about that. That would never happen now, obviously. And I would like kind of let them put me in a category like, oh, he's
Like
kind of.
now you start speaking Farsi and
Yeah,
shit.
I definitely could. And
Right.
that's the thing. I'm really proud of it now. But I don't want anyone to feel that way. And I think the next generation
Let's
with this chip, they might not have to.
Expand on when you say proud, because I don't want people thinking, I know you well. It's not a proud, like an arrogance that I am Iranian.
No, it's not even like that. I'm a human. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're all humans first. I'm proud of anything that my parents were first generation immigrants. They moved here from Iran. And their experiences in Iran made them, right, who they are, all the culture.
Right.
They're not Muslim and never have been practicing Muslims, but the culture as it is over there, everything that shapes it, and obviously the Muslim religion is dominant over there. Mm-hmm. So that type of atmosphere, the conservative nature of it, the hardworking people, the kindness, and the value of family, those principles that are really big over there, they brought with them. And they put them into me, and I'm proud of that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily like speaking on Iran's politics or what it does as a place.
Or just, this is one thing that's interesting to me when people are so proud of their land. It's like, it's just land.
It's just land.
You happen to be born there.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. You didn't qualify yourself to be from any particular land, right? So I have a deep affinity for Middle Eastern people. I lived in the Middle East for a while. My sister and her family has lived in the Middle East for since the 90s, So I spent a lot of time out there. And I'm going to be honest with you, bro. When I was going, I was brainwashed by our media, by our news. They make you really afraid of Middle Eastern people. When I got there, I was like, oh, shit. Yo, everybody looks scary and mean. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell y'all something right now. These were the nicest fucking people. I came back a changed man. I came back I remember, shout out to my boy Chai. When I came back, he was like, what are you doing? Why are you waving at everybody? I would just like pleasantly, like when I see people who say hi, wave. Because I picked that up in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates. And when you speak to them, they love Americans. You watch the news, you'll think everybody in the Middle East hate America. And I'm telling you, I know some of y'all are probably getting fired up right now, but y'all shouldn't. These are people as well. And what you see on the news here is not accurate. Of course. I'm gonna give a breakdown. When you take these little groups like Al Qaeda, ISIS, and you make them the representation of an entire people, is really unfortunate and is wildly inaccurate. Let's break it down. Let's switch roles here. Let's say, I don't know, Saudi Arabia is the superpower, is America, has the status that America has. So from that, you have all the Arab world, and that's the dominant factor. They have a stronger media, you know what I mean? Some people will like to call that propaganda, whatever, but their media is the strongest. They want people to feel and think a certain way about their enemies, us, for whatever reason, we're the enemies, America. Let's say you take the Ku Klux Klan, right? The Ku Klux Klan, they're nothing. It's a tiny tiny portion of the society of our society here in the United States. However, if you look up their doctrine and everything about them, they claim themselves to be the highest form of Christianity, right? So this country is a Christian nation. Is that fair to say? I mean, against the wishes of the founding fathers, but that's where it's at now. It is what it is. So if the Ku Klux Klan call themselves the highest form of Christians, right? And this is a Christian nation. If I was another country with a strong media presence, I'm going to say that's America. They're evil. They're this. They're that. They hate other people. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. The Middle East is a bunch of people that live there. The culture's a little bit different, but we all want the same shit. To be happy, to live life, have kids, get married. These are people. And, I love living in America. There's no other place that I can see myself living, 100%. But I don't think I'm better than people because I'm born here. You know what I mean? And shit, as a black man in this country, it's bittersweet because in a huge part of my upbringing, you see things all the time as if people don't want you here. It's like, bro, we didn't ask to be in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Well, go back. Well, you brought us here. There's no acknowledgement of anything. Fuck it, I don't care. My mind state, my perspective is a little bit different because I know that I started out in a deficit, a huge fucking deficit. So I use that as motivation. Don't let me catch you. Don't let me pass you. Ah, shit, you in trouble now. You know what I mean? It just makes me fight a little bit harder to live the American dream. And I'm living the American dream right now, And my grandparents were immigrants. They came through Ellis Island, though, And as children, and my parents were born here, And it's so crazy, man, because, I'm raised in New York. New York, it's a lot of culture that's taught. It just is. I noticed the further west you go, culture isn't taught as much. I'm talking about other nations outside of the United States. But what's unfortunate to all my white homies out there, black people, we didn't start in America as slaves. The history goes way back, So that was something that's not ever really acknowledged in this country, especially in schools. It just seemed like black people started as slaves, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Black people thrived like in Africa. We weren't like known for like our great kings and emperors. This is something that I find super dope. We weren't known for like war, like the strongest military, whatever. We're known for like business, bringing prosperity to certain places. Muna Musa Kita, if y'all look him up, Muna Musa Kita was considered the richest man ever. Adjusting his wealth to inflation, he was worth over $400 billion. He was so wealthy when he would make pilgrimages to Mecca, the places that his caravan would travel through was so big, they spent so much money, they would destabilize economies. That's baller shit, you know what I mean? But I like that kind of stuff, known for being a wise businessman, you know what I mean? That shit is cool. That's not taught, you know what I mean?
At all. It's neglected purposefully or
Right.
unintentionally. It's been left out of the U.S. education like nearly completely, whereas we do.
It's not in the U.S. education at all.
We go back, we do, having been a product of the U.S. public education system, we do go in depth with like Greek history, Roman history, European history. Yeah. We, and even, honestly.
And it's dope. I think it's cool.
You even touch on South America and Central America as well a little bit. But they completely, when they talk about Black history, it has been painted, and we've talked about this obviously before, but it's like kind of embarrassing that in my head, when I think about Black history, I think about when slavery ended. Because I was programmed that way. I didn't even realize it until we first discussed it. Like, wow, why did this happen? How did this happen? That I don't even think about how great Africa was and the cultures of Africa and these great African societies that were built. But no, I think about Martin Luther King. Well, they've literally set it up that way. And because because they've had that kind of effect on me as someone who's gone through, and I think I'm a successful product of the system. This means that probably most people look at it this way. And think about, I mean, people who talk about that, racism is over, it's not a thing anymore, it doesn't matter, quit talking about the past. It's like, well, imagine if that's what your culture was painted to be. It started in the 50s.
Right.
It started in the late 1800s, and then really because like I said, Black history is thought to be, just think about the parallel, people. Black history is thought to be Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, some of these figures like that, George Washington Carver. These are people that pop in my head because of school. It's all in the last 80 to 100 years. When you talk about white history or European history, you think about 2,000, 3,000 years. The most I'll say that it's ever touched on is Egypt, right? But they paint them out to be tan. Like they're not pictured to be.
Right.
To
And I
be
know
black.
people are going to go hard right now, but here's the thing. Egyptians, it's hot as fuck there. The way people look is a condition of their environment, the climate they lived in. Those people were black in various shades of black, So, but to me, that doesn't matter. It's not important. That my skin color does not make me better than somebody else or worse. It's such an arbitrary thing. It's by circumstance that I'm dark. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make me a different type of human being.
But it's weird that Egyptian history, it's strange to me that it's carved out to be separate from black history. It's like, there's Africa and then there's Egypt.
Right.
Like it's not part of Africa.
You see a lot of the relics are still there. They got to explain it, when we're in other places, things were destroyed. Like when I speak of Muna Musa and Tinkaminen and these kind of people like that, they were, the French came through and decimated that place and colonized it. You know what I mean? So a lot of, he who wins wars write history, regardless of the truth and the facts. That's the fact now. If I won, I state what the facts are. That's how it is. It is what it is. So, Black Africans weren't equipped for that level of violence. If you really like I dug into the history of like Shaka Zulu and South Africa and the Zulu wars, and when England came into there, the way that the Africans used to go to war was kind of like, it wasn't even like real fighting. It was like mocking each other, and it was like dance battles and shit, and throwing shit that ain't gonna really hurt each other. You know what I'm saying? So Shaka Zulu, with the help of the British, guns, oh shit. So he went through and was annihilating other tribes, with his Brit counterparts until they got him in position to get everything that they wanted, and then they just annihilated him. You know what I'm saying? So and caused a lot of dissension within his ranks, with his brother and all of these other people. It's crazy, man, the history. It's unfortunate, bro, that none of that shit is told. Listen, I love Greek mythology. Greek history is fascinating. It's cool. There's a lot of shit that's not talked about, though. Like, the story of 300 is a very interesting story. I'm not going to get into it and make people mad, but it was a reason why that small group of soldiers were so powerful. You know what I mean? We'll get into that in another. Y'all going to research it now. It's going to be fucking.
I hope they do.
You should research it real quick.
I hope they do, because it's something that we can all just keep learning, because like we said, this phone right now and what it can access represents the collective human conscious right now, what we are aware of and what we know, as stated by people all over the world. And there's a lot of positive things that we can build on from this moment forward, and there's a lot of negative things that we can hope to avoid in the future.
Right.
And that's what it is.
And that's the power of knowledge and wisdom, is accessing this information so we don't make those mistakes, or we can learn what they knew and build on top of it. All cultures, what makes nations great were back then when like Greece, the Greeks, the Romans would try to expand their empire by conquering other places. When they would conquer these places, they're also gaining all of their wisdom, right? And their cultures. That made them that much better. But see, another thing that people don't talk about, the Moors used to do the same thing before them, and they occupied like huge parts of Europe for a long time, Spain and parts of Rome, and all of these areas, Italy. That's why Sicilians are dark. You know what I mean? But but what makes now, I'm not saying we need to invade everybody and take their cultures, but cultures come now. We're a little bit more civilized, kind of, but learning other cultures and cultures coming together makes it so good. The reason why America is not so great just because it's great, like it's some spiritual thing that's ordained. It's great because this is a nation of people can dispute it all they want emotionally, but the facts are this is a nation of immigrants. This is a nation of people from everywhere, all in one big melting pot, right? So,
And that never happened before, as far as we know in
and
history.
it's not going on anywhere else.
Yeah, the doors never opened like they did in America to people of the entire world, and that's literally what made it great.
For real.
It
And that's
wasn't.
what
It
makes
wasn't. It was nothing special
and that's what
before
makes it
that.
great. Yo, no disrespect to none of my homies in no other countries, but when I go to other places and people are like, I gotta take you here, take you there, and we go all of these places, and I'm just like, nah, it's good, it's cool. It ain't Vegas, it ain't LA, it ain't Miami, it ain't Utah, it ain't New York. We got so many places. We have 50 countries in one country. You know what I mean? Just here in California, from where we at now in Orange County up to Long Beach, completely different. From Long Beach to Manhattan Beach, completely different. From there to Santa Monica, completely different. This is all within 2 counties. We're not even talking about Northern California or San Diego. It's vastly different, and that's majority of this country, and that's because there's so many cool cultures from everywhere. You know, listen, I don't think I can survive if there was no Mexican food. I love Mexican food. You know what I mean? But foods, customs, music, all of that shit, we have the mix here in America, and that's why it's so fucking cool here.
I think every culture in the world is probably cool. I don't think there's any cultures that aren't,
Yeah.
because they all formed for a reason. They
It's gotta
formed
be. It's gotta be somebody that ain't cool.
as a culture.
It's gotta be somebody who's boring as shit.
I think, well, maybe boring, but worthy, because they formed based on a lot of time and potential to have other things form. So they formed for a reason. So if you understand them and know, I'd say multiple people from within a culture, I think you come to love it. Like I love the Mexican culture. Almost everyone I know that I've ever encountered, especially like in family settings. Zaid, as you know, our president here is Mexican and has a deep Mexican family. And anytime I interact with them, I love it. They take you in and make you feel like one of their own. And I'm sure that could be said for all the different cultures. You just got to know a little bit more about it, get a little bit deeper than having heard about it on the news or read a negative current event or had one, negative or even lackluster experience with a person of that culture, because they can't be expected to carry the weight of that whole thing. So we're gonna have to work on that. And I think, man, to bring it back to that chip, I think it could be something that really helps with that.
Right. If you think about it, if y'all look at some of the names of some of our products with ambrosia, what we're consciously doing is trying to bring other, we're paying homage and showing respect to other cultures. Planta is a Spanish word for plant. Muendo is a Swahili word for movement, momentum. We're trying to, encompass other things.
Even
because
just
that's
the name of our brand, people oftentimes don't
ambrosia.
know. They don't know that ambrosia was the food of the gods.
Greek mythology.
Right.
It's dope.
Yep.
And that's why I think sometimes you have a hard, like people love the company. And like, why? But I think the fact that we do embody so many different characteristics from everywhere, and we're showing respect and love and admiration, and we're learning from all of these places. We get our coffee from Peru. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Pachamama is Mother Earth, Mother Goddess. That's another culture. Again,
Exactly.
this collective, we believe in taking everything that, not just we as an American society, or we as in us three, myself, Mike, and Mark Lobliner, taking not just what we know, but what the world knows and learning from it and trying to build on that.
Exactly. So that's a thing that we're big on, learning from other. We don't know it all. We don't have it all here. let's look outside to get more. We just our knowledge, our experiences, everything grows. We become that much more dynamic with everything that we do. So
So what today is the 24th. Talking about something, with humanity and getting better. Last podcast we talked about our most recent Dirty Angels effort in Houston,
Right.
and as they're seeing this video, I'm sure you can include the link, and maybe you guys have already seen the newest video on Mike's channel, kind of documenting that Houston Dirty Angels event where we went out into the community and just gave a hand up and some positivity to the community and people who were less fortunate by handing out about 300 meals. Well, we committed last episode that we were going to do this once a month for the rest of the year and really get this Dirty Angels movement popping as much as possible. And we have an event planned already. Next weekend is August 2nd. Oh, August 3rd, next Saturday. Mike and I will be in Toledo for a store event at Bullfrog Nutrition. Shout out to Paul. We'll be there Saturday morning, but immediately afterwards, we're going to drive up to Detroit, and we're going to be there for that evening, and we're inviting everyone to come out and meet with us, hang out with us, and help us put these meals together and go out into the community. We'll have the link to the Eventbrite so you can get all the details, but it's going to be August 3rd, that's Saturday, 7 to 10 p.m. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to doing this again.
right, and this is something that we've committed to doing at least once a month. We'll talk more about this later, but there's one of my good friends in the Inland Empire said there's a huge problem out there, so we're going to start getting active with that immediately. And look, this is something that we're dedicated to doing. Somebody asked me, I saw one of the comments in the video. They were like, "Well, why? This is cool, but why are you broadcasting it?" It's like it doesn't matter if I'm broadcasting it or not. It matters if people who don't got food is getting fed. You think they give a fuck? And the reason that I'm broadcasting it is because of this. We're showing other people that it's cool to do things like this. We're trying to plant that seed of giving, of service.
I think we're also unveiling the formula, like showing how easy it really is.
Exactly.
Like, I think that's what's really important about broadcasting it, is showing the process of how it's done and how easy it is to get involved, because we're just deciding we want to do it and hopefully including as many of you as possible. But we're showing you exactly how we do it. We literally prepare the meals by whatever means necessary. If it's cooking the components, or luckily we had Trifecta able to help us out with the Houston event, whatever we have to do to prepare the meals, and then we literally go out into the community. We ask and find out where the people are who can use our help, and we go there. It's that simple. But without seeing it on video, seeing is believing. You know what I mean? And seeing it,
Right.
it's more possible for you all to understand that you can do this too. So it's not just a good idea that we broadcast it. I would say it's the point, because we could do it ourselves. We've been doing it ourselves. We want to show you guys how you can do it too, how you can get involved either with us or on your own, but creating more positivity and taking care of each other as humans is what we're trying to do.
Exactly. I want y'all to see it. Uncle T, shout out to Uncle T out there keeping us live. I asked him if he could post the video on Facebook. T, I'm about to do it right now. I just found the link, so don't worry about it, baby. All right, so all y'all on Facebook right now, I'm going to post the video that Sean is talking about with us in Houston. This is something that I want y'all to check out, because it's something I want y'all to do yourselves.
If it's with us in Detroit next weekend, amazing.
Yeah.
We invite you, but
Yeah, that'd be dope.
you're welcome. But you're welcome to join us. We want everyone there. We make friends and connections. We chop it up. It's a good time. I mean, we genuinely were like, I would say, giddy afterwards. We were so happy. It was like Christmas for us to do this and feel the energy and the positivity of doing something like this. But if you're not in Detroit, if you're not around for that, it doesn't matter. You can do this through your own efforts in your own community. Just watch us how we did it, and you'll see that this is something you could be doing today, this weekend, next week, as soon as you're able. If you want to make a difference, you can, and that's what we're trying to show.
Right. So, but anyway, there's no need to throw negativity out there, because when I started doing it before, back in the day, people were like, "Yo, T, what are you doing out there? What the fuck? Look what is that guy? What is that guy doing?"
I can't see him.
Oh my God! We gotta put a camera on Uncle T. He over here doing some weird shit. What was that? Like a Zulu dance? Like what the fuck was that? God damn, T crazy as fuck. Anyway, you know, comments was coming in all crazy, man. Like, oh, what good is it to help people if you're standing on a soapbox for everybody to see? I'm like, who gives a fuck? I'm not doing it for popularity or any kind of vain reasons, but look, do it, don't show it. No, I'm showing it so that other people can do it. I remember the first video that I put up. Shout out to this guy, a guy that I actually hired to shoot video for me while I was in Australia on a couple trips. It took him a day or two of hanging around before he told me, like, look, check out this video. When I saw your video feeding people, I started doing it too. And I thought that was so fucking cool. That's why it's on YouTube. That's why it's on Facebook or Instagram. That's why we show it, to plant that spirit of giving, of service for other people. It's a really good thing to do things that's not just for yourself. That doesn't come with an immediate reward or any reward. Just do it, right? And I've said it in the video the other night. This is not about. I'm not doing this to eradicate homelessness, right? But we do whatever we can to help in any little way that we can. And I think that the biggest thing that we're doing here, the biggest potential thing that we're doing here, is planting those seeds. People are impressionable. Young people are impressionable. A lot of people subscribe, follow a lot of things that we talk about. That's something that I want to talk about and show. And that's a seed that I really want to plant. The more people that think that it's cool to do stuff like this, the better. Little shit like that, this is going to sound corny, but little shit like that it helps make the world a better place. I'm all about it through altruism. Listen, if more people can adapt that spirit of kindness and just doing something for other people, that's a better world for me when I'm old. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to worry about some young knucklehead trying to, do whatever. You know what I mean? So even though when I'm old, I'm going to be very formidable and I'm be able to fuck up any knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? I'm just that type of guy, in my head. But on some real shit, I want the world to be a smoother place when my kids are older. You know what I mean? So, if you can think about something or someone outside of yourself, yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. And we're just trying to spread that vibe. That's it.
Going out and doing something like this, I think it really helps people who've not done it before to humanize the people who are in need, because it's easy if you don't encounter these people or if you don't ever know anything about them. You obviously, if you haven't experienced anything like it, this level of hardship, you think they're not people. Like there's some other species. They're humans, just like all of you, that have gotten here through a various combination of decisions and outcomes. But they're people. They're people, and we have a responsibility as humans to take care of each other, because it's not gonna be the animals that a lot of people talk about protecting. They're not taking care of us. People want to do so much to take care of animals.
That's very interesting.
With a negligence towards the humanity,
right?
And that's to me a little bit. I don't want to downgrade the need to protect animal welfare, but human welfare is what's most important to me.
It is. It's most important because the human animal is successful as a species because of cooperation and collaboration. Oh, you can do this, I can do this. Let's bring these resources together. Let's help each other out. We are inferior as animals in the big scheme of things. If there was no buildings to protect us from the wild, we'd have a really hard fucking time. But let's say we didn't have all of this shit. We'd have something because we can put our brains together and come together and become larger than what we are. Think of plans, strategize, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, shit, even dolphins cooperate, and they're wildly successful at hunting. You know what I mean? It's amazing seeing them hunt, but that's the thing. We need each other. It is what it is. Everybody's like, oh, I just do it for me and me. All right, okay, be alone the rest of your life. It's a reason why the worst punishment in jail is solitary confinement. Putting someone alone will drive you in fucking insane. Y'all don't want that. We're here for each other, to use each other, not to abuse each other, but to use each other, to learn from each other, teach each other, all of that good shit. It just makes life that much more enjoyable. We have the ability to enjoy life, so why not? We do that with good people around or people that we enjoy being around. So we gotta think about these things. And like you said, to take care of other people. Like I think people who are heavy into conserving wildlife and nature they're beautiful people. But I think people who are into that, but like are like fuck other people, or like like when a vegan is like, well, fuck you eating meat and fuck you and die. And you ever see the video, bro? You gotta see this shit. There's videos when there's vegans that go into restaurants and stand around people eating, talking shit and like murderer, murderer. It's like I pray somebody did that shit to me. It's not about being a vegan and none of that shit. I'm beating that ass. You making me uncomfortable, I'm gonna make you very uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So that shit is bizarre to me. Instead of like, come to people cool, like, hey, bro, you eating that? Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? You don't just come and try to give people miserable experiences. You know what I'm saying? For an animal that don't give a fuck about you. There's no animals in the wild like when you like